Vincenzo's Gold Crypto Investing, this April the 14th nightly cryptocurrency, the blockchain technology, the gold and silver bullion updates that you come to expect, love, need, and deserve. And you can see we're changing the sphere and image and forcing a change to truth, trust, education, and information. With you, the audience, is the most important members, just like we don't want to buy whatever they're selling there. We fleece, heist, and shiest and call out and force change to truth, trust, and education. And on monetary and fiscal or commodity Mondays, you can see the gold price or the US dollar, which directly affects, or it used to more so than now, the Bitcoin price. You can see we've had a big breakdown out of this rising channel that we've been in the US dollar ever since the great financial collapse of 2006 to 2012 or 2008, 9, 10 during the height of it. And you can see we've had several hits on upper resistance, several hits on lower support, and now we're threatening to break down out of it again, which we've done several times. We had an epic threatening of breaking down back here and during the COVID crisis, right before we started to raise interest rates. Then we tried to break out of it back here, 2011, 2012, a little bit of a mini below it in 2014. And now we're below it for one of the more ferocious collapses to bust below it and a horizontal 100.733 price on the dollar. You can see we went down about from top to low about 10.5% in a very short amount of time. That's the biggest collapse since we've seen uh, the 2021, 2022 when you hit the major upper resistance in this rising channel. And now what you want to hope for if you're a US dollar or you buy in US dollars or you live in America, you want to see this bounce on the 100 level because the lower the dollar is in value, the more expensive it is for you to buy goods and services using US dollars, right? So you want to see this break back up and hold major support here and try to get back into this channel and continue. Come here. And of course, he's talking, the program director, and you want to try to get back into this channel. What you don't want to see, which would force prices even higher, is if you, over the next year, you start to trade and get rejected and then confirm below this 100.733, because then your next major target is down here at this horizontal red resist, yellow resistance, orange resist, excuse me, orange resistance box, which starts at about $91 and goes down to about 83. So this is a critical spot for the US dollar. And the more it goes down, the more upwards pressure it puts on commodities, gold, silver, oil eventually, right? So we're going to continue to pay attention to that. Get the first mover advantage. That's why you become members of Jabroni Killers, video description or pin comment. We've been on the gold price for several years now. Since we started making this channel, we identified this cup and handle, this 12-year cup and handle, when the price was at $16, 1,600 and change in 2020 or early spring. We put our target up here of $3,500, and you can see where we're at now. We peaked out so far in this run at 32.49, and we're only less than $200 away from achieving our goal. And it's a goal and a target that was made back here in 2020. Uh, the channel came alive just after the COVID crisis. We came out with our first video, I think April, mid to late April in 2020. And we've had this target ever since, even after gold reached traced down all the way to 1,620 after a couple of failed breakout attempts. And now we're about to get there because that's the first mover advantage and that's the value you get. Some of the silver, we think silver's going to $50 here in the shorter to medium term, maybe potentially by the end of this year. B2 Gold, we are a heavy uh, investor in B2 Gold. I'm not a financial advisor. Kinross Gold, we're in at $5.22. We're up 170%. B2 Gold, we're in at 298 with all of our 3,300 shares combined. Barrett Gold, we're in at 16 and change. First Majestic, we have a lot of. Fortuna Silver, Pan America, and Rivian. We are all investing in, or I am investing in. And they're all continuing to go up. And we've been on top of that for you, even though it's not the most popular thing here. The Bitcoin price put its first uh, weekly candle so far, even though it's only 24 to 36 hours into it, bouncing off of that critical 73,899 we had that weekend pump potential. If we look at the daily time frame, you can see we had it going between the 200-day and this red resistance box that we had in that 90,000. And you can see so far it's been getting wicked down by the 200-day and the 50-day moving average that's sitting right there, right? So we're gonna have to pay attention to this the next couple of days. As you can see, the moving averages have run parallel a little bit. We almost had our golden bears cross, but the recent uptrend in price still do not want to buy that advertising. Has made the 50-day run more parallel. You can see we're getting rejected underneath both of the 50 and the 200-day in the daily time frame. We're just below it. If this can wick up and get another spike in volume, you could make a run all the way up to this 90,000 and change, this major upper resistance from horizontal left to right. But if you come and break down right here, you're going to come back down to 73,000 and change very quickly. But either way, whether you come up first, you're going down after. I still think 74 is going to be re-hit. I still think this pump that we're in now is going to sell off, and the downtrend down to the neckline at 58,900 is still in play and still going to take effect. But what we have had is some of these coins that were hit, especially select altcoins, have pumped 30 to 60 to 80 to, in some cases, XCN 250% from their 80, 90% lows from their highs. Ethereum is not one of those so far. We've had the golden bears cross. We're below this major $1,812 resistance level with fastly falling daily time frame moving averages coming into the price. And if you want to get shorter term bullish in Ethereum, you have to get above this $1,812 and hold it and try to attack these moving averages that are falling fast and are major overhead sell pressure. And it's going to be hard to fight through that. And you got major underneath support on any kind of rejection around that $1,800, way down there at $1,012. XLM is the same thing. We had that little weekend pump from the wick low to the current wick high. We went up about 23.96%. We had our upper target of 25.5 cents, that blue horizontal resistance level. It's petering out. The volume has been slowly falling. So if we can't come up and retest that, we're going to end up falling back down, I believe. Even if you come up and retest this, I believe you're going to come down and hit this major underneath support level, followed by a more substantial shorter term bounce. But that's still what we're watching out for. The first mover advantage. Let you know this was all going to happen way back here just after the 63-cent top. That's why we're the industry most trusted cryptocurrency and blockchain technology education, information, and trust and truth to make informed decisions. That's why you should become members of Jabroni Killers. You can see we've had the Golden Bears cross now in XLM, something that we've been forecasting for a while. We've let you know these underneath targets were going to happen. The price from that blow off top grayscale filing news back there in late November, early December, the price at its peak low so far is at 68.83%, and at current price for 62.28%. Already a much better buying opportunity at 24 cents for 63 cents when we said not to FOMO in. The XRP price, another one we believe we're in a head and shoulders topping out reversal pattern. We've had a wick low so far of $1.61, but our technical target is $1.29. And the first mover advantage again, just after the 340 high right there in mid-January in the purple small circle, we drew on this head and shoulders. We identified the 209 or purple horizontal line down there as the neckline. We've been on top of it ever since as the future became the present and the present became the past. Uh, we told you about a potential weekend pump that you could try to get above the neckline, and as high as you would get would be these 200-day and the 50-day moving average, where in the daily where you're about to have a golden bearish cross, or you just did yesterday have a golden bearish cross, and where you wicked up to earlier today and got quickly rejected at the 224, and now you're struggling at the neckline. And like we talked about in the noon update, this is going to be a critical area the next 24 to 48 hours. Can you hold above this neckline, or after you fight and claw and get exhausted, you slip it and then you start using it as resistance, and then before you know it, you're all the way back down here, threatening a local double bottom at $1.61. That's something that we're going to be watching out for. That's something that must be followed and something that will be followed. If we look at some VTHO, that's a coin that my Jabroni Killer members brought on to this channel back here when it was in the middle of its last pump. And we said the price would come down in here. And the price did, in fact, hit some of our underneath targets. And from when they brought it back in January, or even before that, I think about January. Still don't want to buy you. It's down from swing high to swing low, 86.26%. It did have a technical bounce off an area that we were looking at, off this 0.002152, and you can see it wicked up almost beautifully into where we had our major overhead resistance at 0.003603, something we were talking about on our hyper pump advisory slash warning weekend that we after XCN blew up. That was a major resistance zone. And you can see we had one big candle spike today, and we'll see if there's any follow through with the new candle that just opened, or if this is just going to be another thing that eventually peters out, and then before you know it, it's given back all of its gains. So that's something we're going to watch out for. Like Xeon did the same thing, had a massive spike in volume. We broke out of that purple trading zone, hit that 0.02288 major upper resistance that we knew would be there, and it's initially holding it as major resistance. We're going to have to pay attention to the volume, because if the volume continues to slowly decline, if the volume continues to slowly decline, you're going to end up falling back down to a major underneath support at the top part of this darker purple resistance and support zone that will try to hold that support at 0.01504. And if you can't hold that, you're going to slip the moving averages underneath, and you're going to end up coming down to the 200-day moving average, where you would have to hold support, or you would give away 100% of that gain that you just made back. So the areas that I would be watching out for in XCN, if we close this in to the hour time frame, would be major upper resistance, obviously, is right here. What we were talking about when I was trying to break out of the lower box. Come on, unlock the damn thing. When I was trying to break out of the dark purple zone, where it held it as support right here, we talked about the upper resistance would be the next resistance box above it. So if you can't get back above this 0.02 and hold it above there, you're going to eventually trade your way back down to the new underneath support, the 0.0154. And in that case, you would have to try to hold that, or you'd probably come back down to the 200-day moving average. So that's something that we're watching out for. We're going to continue to pay attention to this. Like the channel, subscribe. Peace and love. Direct Eyebrow J.